town. Are there any citizens here except our friend from the Clay today? So I'm gonna dispense with reading all this stuff, but I just want you to know you're welcome, and if you have anything that you would like to say, just
I have so much
give me
to
the
say.
high
You sit right here, Leslie.
Okay.
We should just get you a chair.
Yeah.
Those chairs look way nicer than these.
I got another one right there in the hallway. You can have it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Review draft agenda for the regular board meeting on May 2nd, 2019. I'll turn it over to Mr. Davis.
Yes, ma'am. So good morning. Thank you everyone for being here this morning. Sorry I couldn't go to the Reinhold breakfast this morning. I know we had great support there. However, I was at Clay Senior High School, and this morning we have the National, I think it's Academy, the National, what is it, NCAC?
Yeah,
National
Coalition.
Career Coalition that is there to look at creating a national model for our criminal justice program.
Oh, cool.
That's one of our initiatives for our strategic plan, and to celebrate and to identify national models within our pathways. And today they're going through the review process. And Mr. Connor, Ms. Polk, Ms. Mosley, working with staff over there. It's going to be a great day. So fingers crossed that they come out with that national model. And but I was glad to go there and kick it off this morning. All right, so the first one, we'll do some recognitions in this board meeting. Bless you. The Clay County academic team will be recognized during our board meeting. That's always an exciting time. In addition, we'll go through the 2019-2020 Drug-Free Schools calendar winners. I always get a nice calendar every year to see those winners and celebrate them. And then recognize outstanding 2018-2019 school volunteers within Clay County District Schools.
The student is my
Uh-huh. C1 is the minutes for the school board workshop, along with student hearing and regular meeting for April 4th as well. C2 is the personnel consent agenda. Nothing major on this consent agenda. You will see that John Ward's date has transitioned from, it was originally from April the 16th, and it now has been pushed to May 1st. He will start with us on May 1. And then we have a supplement for Title I lead, which is embedded here as well. It's just allowing individuals within that school, to, regardless of they're in Title I school or not, to be able to be available for supplements within the school as well. Yes, ma'am.
I did have a couple of questions, just for clarification for myself.
Yeah.
On one of those supplements, it listed, and I'll just give example,
Sure.
Tony Battle, and it showed, but it says a resignation and then an appointment, but it doesn't look like the thing changed. Is that just,
I can research
Yeah.
the battle.
I mean, he was just one I happened to pick up that it said.
There are a couple that are like that, yeah.
There's one little glitch with BP in converting. This will be our second month now
Okay.
using the new system.
Mhm.
And then the other was some out-of-field people that looked very similar, but they were.
Right, if they're out of field and then they became in-field at the same school, it had a formatting issue with the way that that's presented on the agenda. But I can, give me specific names, I could certainly email you.
There were really just a group of about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 6 people that I was asking about there.
What's the first name on
The
that?
first one is Hallie Adams
Hallie Adams
at
on
Ridgeview
that.
High, and those 6 that were on that page, we just had some questions about the out of field.
Sure.
Thank you.
Definitely look at it, and Business Plus always, the new implementation, we'll see some red flags, but we'll get it right.
Okay,
Thanks,
thanks.
ma'am. C3 is the approval of the purchase of K-12 Florida LLC virtual instruction curriculum. Currently, we have been using Pearson to do our work in K-5, and this has been really troublesome for teachers because they have to go in to use Pearson and they have to really rebuild the core curriculum. So now we've transitioned to a new platform. We believe that it has greater interactivity for our teachers, and it's less time going and building the courses and bringing on board K-12 Florida, which is just a better product. And for the K-5 perspective, it'll be around the top of $75,000 for implementation. C4 is a approval for purchase of Edgenuity, which is our virtual instructional curriculum as well. Currently, we are using the Florida virtual curriculum, which it's costing the school district around $575,000. Being able to go to transition to Edgenuity, that's going to save us money. We'll be able to spend around $351,000, and we'll get a real good, complex, more interactive, teacher-friendly platform as well. This is what we're using for any recovery within our high schools and junior high schools as well for courses. And we're currently, they've given it to us to pilot to see if we like it and interact with it. We found that it's been favorable with our educators and our leaders and through our students. And then this just brings a better availability to customize curriculum and address our students in a better way for progress monitoring through their assessments. So being able to save money and going in a different direction, I think is going to help us. And it gives us consistency and alignment. C5 is the approval of out-of-county travel for K-12 academics. Here we have science fair, band, weightlifting, yearbook, FFA, they're all going everywhere. And, so any trips you see, somebody's going to North Carolina, somebody's going to California, and we see great trips for our kids being exposed to experiences outside of our county.
National Science Fair again.
Yes, ma'am.
This, I wanna take stock on this
DC.
young man. He
Yeah.
was just amazing.
Yep, they continue to. he's got
And-
two of them.
Yes,
That's right.
there are two of them going, and they're, what, 9th grade, 10th grade? They're,
No,
I think they
no,
were
not
15.
9th, they're 10th or 11th, I mean,
I
they
think it
still
was
have
15,
another
age
year or
15
something.
and
Yeah.
16.
Yes,
So it's,
right.
it's exciting for our students, so they're given a chance to travel and compete. on
This
behalf
is
of our
Mr.
county.
Chen's second year in a row, right?
He was awesome last year, and he was back again this year, so very
It'll be-
very highly intelligent.
And he's
Mr.
the
Connor,
FBI
please let us know
President.
after the,
state president.
it's in May, I think. Please let us, the board know how they do.
Absolutely.
Curious.
C6 is a proclamation for National School Nurse Week. We will celebrate that from May the 6th through May the 12th.
Mr. Davis, if I can jump in there?
Sure.
I apologize.
Professor.
I just learned last night that the Florida School Health Association has identified Chris Reedy, our own coordinator of nursing,
Hey.
as the school nurse supervisor of the year for the state of Florida.
Oh,
So I just learned
wow.
about it, and I appreciate that, Mr. Hoffman. So,
I think that we ought
That's
to
awesome.
bring that up, so, when we get to that, Ms. Bush, if you'll put a little reminder under this item, I'll be sure that, in fact, I'll turn it over to Mr. McCauley, and he can really,
Her ceremony at the state conference is next week, is on Wednesday, I think, so by Thursday, I'll have all the
Everything.
details.
okay, good.
It's awesome.
But I think that's something
wonderful.
we definitely, because, in the social media, I mean, you've read about the deck of cards and all that. We need to really honor this.
Yeah, it's awesome. C7 is the Clay County District Schools Operation Financial Single Audit that has already been sent to everyone, just bring it to the board for final approval. We see the majority of in the operational sides dealt with the building of Doe. We were really, we still stand by our decisions for what we did with Mr. Connell and Dr. Kemp. We stand by our decision. We think we did a good job with it. We were in rightfully so. But they had some historical findings around the state, and that we are attached with those as well. Also, you see the pre-K. I still believe in pushing legislators to involve pre-K in our best and the brightest. These are our teachers who are certificated under the K-12 course umbrella, and we should have continued to do this. It's unfortunate. We will push legislation, and hopefully we can continue to be the leading district to celebrate these individuals and properly compensate them in a way they should be doing it.
Have you talked to Senator Bradley and Representative
We
Cummings
have.
about this? And
They have.
what was
Well,
their-
They understand that they're under that umbrella, and they understand that they should be in part of this process. So
Absolutely.
hopefully, we have a number of counties calling me and superintendents thanking me for taking the initiative to put it out there, because now it starts the conversation within the state, so.
You think it'll happen? during this
We
session?
hope, we definitely hope, so you
Well,
never
and
know.
it's looking
It's just
not
not
just
fair.
at the
I
pre-K,
agree.
but also looking at the guidance counselors, looking at the school
I agree.
psychologists,
Specialists,
everyone who is not considered
Yes,
part of
ma'am.
It's
that.
just
bonus.
it's
support
unfair.
facilitations,
Any of
all of
them.
them,
I mean,
I
it's just
agree.
ridiculous, because they're all
I agree.
certified teachers or
Right.
certified professionals.
Right,
They should be
And we all
considered.
espouse the value of early childhood education,
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
don't know why we don't put our money where our mouth is.
yeah, I just don't understand. So we pushed Department of Education, still at this point, they haven't responded, but I have some phone calls out today to some people in Tallahassee about some other stuff, and this will be another issue that I speak to.
Excuse me, the Clay today might want to put something in there about the unfairness of them being excluded.
Mhm.
So it wouldn't hurt to kind of get the word out,
Right.
that we are trying to change it, okay?
Thank you, and then our financial audit was really solid, once again, so really good, and it's good, $400 million doing right things financially. Also, we have on C8, the charter school audits. They just look at overall making certain that money is used properly in funding. They don't do a deep analysis such as ours, but everything was fine with the 3 charters. C9, proposed allocation changes for 18-19. You see here that we are asking to bring on a coordinator for the coordinator of internal accounts on a earlier so that they can work side by side Mrs. Ronnie Campbell, who is rightfully so retiring. So just looking at bringing someone on to double staff to have a seamless transition in succession management. C10, proposed allocation changes. These are some changes you see with the ESE assistants, and we brought on some maintenance, 2 maintenance positions with the kitchen technicians we talked about last month with our commercial equipment. We see that we've also deleted the internal auditor director and added the coordinator, and you see some transitions between allocations of specialists, which are generally movements. And then just, there's a wash when it looks at the chief academic officer and assistant superintendent to make sure that we're clean and the staff allocation overall. You see some other federal fundings being adjusted and added, and you see athletic supplement for Keystones Wrestling
Thank you, Ms.
program.
Book.
That's right.
For everybody.
For equity and fairness. C11 is amendments to our reports for March of 2019, required to bring amendments for anything with our budgets. C12 is the financial reports for March of 2019. C13 is the internal account audits for the school year of 2018. This school year, we bring audits every single year. And this is a part where we see in the last 3 years our lowest number of findings that we've had. So, moving from 613 last year to 438. And, while 438, we continue, we say, hey, we got, bless you, an areas of opportunity. The celebration is that we continue to decline in the number of audits and findings within our school district. So that's just a celebration to our bookkeepers, celebration to our leaders, and the internal audit to make sure it's important. We still have ways to go, even though we decreased in the following areas with purchase, making sure that everybody gets approval before they make purchases. I know that sounds like, that should happen all the time. It doesn't, but we've declined. It's still an area of angst, and also making sure that the fundraiser documents are filled out appropriately and approved by district staff. And then the other thing is something that's a catch-22, we've declined in it, but we see that staff, potentially sometimes holds money. And if you're at a late event and there's nowhere to have access to the Dropbox or something, you gotta hold the money. So looking at different procedures and processes internally to help staff with that, so that doesn't become a finding in the future. C14 is deletion of certain items here. Once anybody wants a 1985 portable sound system, a refrigerator, laptop, or 1995 vinyl sign maker, it's all here. And it's a total of around $52,000 of stuff that we will send out to sell to the community.
Does anybody ever buy that stuff?
They buy it all the time.
You'd
They
be
buy it all the
surprised.
time.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
They buy it and you'll see it on eBay the week after.
Yeah, for 3 times the money that we sell.
Robert does a good job. with
Robert
selling
Johnson
that
does
on
good work.
gov.biz.
That's right.
So I do a buy high and sell low.
And it's interesting. So we still got that Crown Vic out there. Everybody. It's 1982. May not have seats or steering wheel, but we're selling it.
Okay, my son might need that, no.
Yeah, Kevin may need it. C15, which is the bid award process for RFP. This is the first one was about our relocations and relocatable of our portables. This was awarded to LaRue and AJS Building and Leveling. This is a 3-year sign and agreement and award, which is already going to be over 3 years, $450,000. And we talk about the expensive movement of portables. They really are expensive, and Doc can tell you every day how much they are. And the second thing was the independent auditing services for the school district. And through this process, Purvis Gray and Company was the award winner. They continue to be great working relationship with us as a school district. It's a 5-year with the option to renew in 3 years, and it will be over the 5-year period of $530,000 cost to the school district. C16 is a change order for,
You want the money back, Miss?
change order. So this is direct services, so we get around $16,000 back to the school district. So that's a celebration.
That's a celebration.
That's good. You can bring it
Every day, right?
Yeah, right.
If they're like that.
Is that coming back to the general fund or back to the ACE program within the Allen High?
It'll come, well, we actually gave them some funding, so it'll probably come back to
General
our general fund pot, because we've helped them initiate it, so. C-17 is a final completion of Keystone Heights renovated science labs. They waited patiently for us to make certain we have gas and water, and we had new electrical fixtures and furniture, so they're up and running and excited to continue to work.
Speaking of Keystone, what is
Right.
that situation with the
Sewers.
sewage?
Yeah, that's a situation that will be addressed in the summer. So it's just a pipeline that broke underneath, 20 feet deep.
Underneath the gym?
Yeah, it's
Yes.
underneath the gym, and
Jeez.
yeah, there's never
Familiar with
Yeah.
yeah. So there's never any there's never any time that we were into a part where students or the property was exposed to anything unhealthy.
Right.
Please know that.
Right.
But when you have 20 feet down, it's going to be a major rebuilding project. You know, you have to have strategies to get through the school year, and we will in the summer projects. It's an immediate project that we will address, and have to rerun pipe in through the underground and under the gym to make it fluent.
Mr. Dan, through the chair, Mr. Superintendent, it's a perfect example of why things get bumped in the EFP. So I mean, this unplanned
Yeah.
emergency type project, it's gonna be a minimum of probably $400,000 to fix, what we need to fix. Cause that pipe serves both Keystone Elementary School and the high school. So-
Yep.
So we have to deal with that. That's just part of our life to make those adjustments and we'll do so as we need to.
Was that determined because of aging or what? Because the gym is new, but, of course, elementary school is old, so.
It's the original, everything's
okay.
original underground, and we own all that, including the pump station, so, you know, one of the things down the road, when we start looking at what we need to do with relevant, to make our facilities relevant and making these type of upgrades, those are the type of upgrades that have to happen. Granted, they're not very visible, you don't see pipes under the ground, but I'm telling you, when you've got facilities that are on average age of 60 years old, approaching some in Orange Park at 100 years old,
Right.
you know, stuff breaks, you know.
And this pipe is, I mean, it goes clear across the campus,
Yeah, it
from
goes
elementary to
underground all the
everything.
way, so.
And Doc, and through the chair, we've been in partnership with all agencies, hands-on deck throughout the state and local agencies for them to review and make certain that we are doing the right things and taking the right steps, and everybody's been a beautiful partner and validating everything that we're doing. It's good for the community, good for kids, and good for school.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. So C-18 is a change order to the science labs. We are charging liquidation damages for $1,500 because they were a couple days late, so we're charging them $500 a day. So we'll take the $1,500 to bring back to our school district as
We
well.
can put that towards sewage.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Go back to supplies for the lab. C-19 is the monthly pre-qualifications for our contractors and for our vendors. C-20 is a substantial completion of Lakeside Elementary School re-roofing project and for Building 1. C-21 is a change order to the Lakeside School re-roofing Building 1. After they pulled the roof off, they did find that there was some additional damage to the decking. Anything that's additional to the actual pulling off the roof and putting the roof on, it's an extra expenditure. So the decking we own, so it's around $5,900 that we have to address and be able to prep and get right before they put this, the new roof on. C-22 is the restated concurrency proportionate share mitigation development agreement with Governor's Park with the development of regional impact. Mr. Fawcett, you want to speak to this?
Yes, this was actually enacted by the school board back in June of 2009. And we went ahead and agreed to the 3 school sites that were down there, but it's been sitting idle, and now there's a buyer. The buyer is actually the developer of Nocatee, the park group, and they basically want to build a Nocatee South down here. So they had gone to the county back in 2017 and changed the phasing, so they moved up the actual building of the houses. Originally, it wasn't going to be started until they even completed the road, but now the county went ahead and agreed to letting them start building whenever they're ready. It's still gonna take a couple of years for planning, but they had really some non-substantive changes where they were just changing the name from Buttercup, which I believe was the Gustafson organization, to the new company, and they wanted me to give them some updated numbers as far as their student generation figures and And the only question that we looked at was one of the school sites was actually outside the property. We asked them to bring it in, and they went ahead and made those changes.
Good.
Mr. Victor's already looked it over and approved it, and we're just putting it before the board, so they can complete the sale, that's what their issue is.
Where is Governor's Park? I can't.
If you know, it's south of Route 16, and you know where 15 kind of goes along, Route 15 is in between 17 and I guess the Gustafson property. And in that area is where they're going to build that area. And it straddles the new road coming through.
Right.
Ah.
And Mr. Super, through the chair, I know we're having a growth meeting, a meeting about growth
May 28th.
in the end of May, but I'm gonna tell you, if they build a Rivertown Nocatee South, which is what's gonna happen down here in Governor's Park, the growth that is coming, to the southern end of Clay and southwest of Clay is gonna be extremely significant, and so that will be reflected in the May presentation on growth as well, and what we need to do to get prepared for it over the next decade.
It's,
You said that's gonna be on the 28th of May.
yes, ma'am, I believe it's a workshop attached to our board.
Attached.
Agenda review and
Yep.
workshop,
Yes, ma'am.
village
Yep.
plan.
And growth.
And growth plan, yep.
And I will be giving a presentation at the Clay County Economic Development,
It's the First Coast Expressway Summit.
First Coast Expressway Summit about the growth, the expansion, the need. We're gonna have to have great leadership here to do this work, because it's coming fast, and you've gotta have someone that understands savvy finances and be able to put this up in a well-organized manner, so they've got work to do. All right, D1 is the discussion for special action A. D2 is the public hearing for advertise for the special policies and procedural manual. And there's one more that I would like to add, and I just want to pass it around, if I can pass it around. I'll give you all the documentation along with board agenda review, pass that along. This is Mutual Link. I sent some information about 2 months ago with Mutual Link. This is a enhancement to a communication tool that where teachers on their phone and they have to voluntarily want to interact with this. It's on them. We're not gonna push or pressure anyone. I've talked to Ms. Paiva about it. Yesterday we had a meeting with all local law enforcement agencies. We had a meeting with Fire and Rescue, Emergency Management in Clay County. This room was full of personnel from the district. And Clay County District Schools would make the purchase, and they would have access to this communication software. It's where a teacher on their phone can push multiple buttons. They can hold 911, which will link all law enforcement agencies immediately in fire rescue. They can call an active shooter or a lockdown. They can call for fire rescue. They can call for first aid. They can call for immediate assistance on their phone, and that's those who are willing to participate. And it just gives a quicker response time to versus picking up the phone, calling the front office, then someone figuring out what's going on, calling 911. Every teacher, every support staff should have the ability to make a call that warrants it within our schools. So, yesterday was a positive. All of the local partners were excited about it. It comes to no cost to them. It's a cost to us as a school district. If they wanted to purchase additional, and they not only do they get to have access and for immediate response, but they get access to our cameras immediately when we push that button. So they get a chance to see what's going on. So they have blueprints on this format. So if they say that we're going to school X and classroom Y, it comes up a blueprint. They can figure out where to go, and so they're not going to the main office and figuring out where do I go, what's going on. They can see live feeds and interaction. So. This is going to be a piggyback off of Seminole County's contract. And Seminole County openly started off with 50% of their teachers voluntarily giving their cell phone numbers because it's their personal cell phone numbers. And but after the Parkland, they shot up to 85%, and they saw the value in it, and they believe that it's a good resource. And this is us giving best effort to continue to address the safety and the needs of our school district. So.
And I'm assuming this money will come out of our.
So there's 2 pots of money right now, and potentially we'll work on it in the next couple of days. So we're trying to give the Department of Education, because we do have grant funding that we could use for hardening, because we put some software, or we could use the millage money. This doesn't, while we approve it now, we will not launch this until July 1, so it could potentially be the millage money. And but we would, once approval, we would get it to interact with it for 60 days, and that's going to take time for the Mutual Link to set up all of the blueprint plans and geo fences within our school, because when I say geofences, they'll put up a network that when someone pushes the button, they know exactly where that person is in that school or on campus, and they can direct the services immediately to there, so.
This is marvelous. I'm thrilled to hear about this. Now, when do you want to put this on the agenda?
I would like to put it on this agenda.
Let's put it on and get this going. So, Ms. Bush, please add this.
My daughter teaches in Seminole County and she has this. And not
Oh, this
only,
is wonderful.
just one of the things that, once they do something with this, let's say, if she gets a text that says active shooter, they then are able to follow up with additional information to each of these phones. So, let's say you get a lockdown drill and you've got all of your kids in and you're not quite certain what to do or what's going on, you have access just to your phone. It doesn't come up over a speaker system, it doesn't come up on your computer that you have to leave a particular area. You have it with your phone, and you can see exactly what's going on. They inform people within reason, not every single solitary detail, but they inform you, and then they inform you when it's done as well, so that it's, the communication is there. There's a communication goes back to the teachers as well. It's not just a help me button, it's a let's see what's going on, so.
We need to make sure that the public knows about this.
Gave them the stuff.
Okay. There's so many things we need to get the word out on.
Well, there's a lot that we want to get the word out, but here again, it's a safety and security
You
issue.
bet.
And we
Well,
want to get the
thanks.
word out, but we don't want to be too specific about
Yeah.
what we're doing or
Yeah.
why. And I mean, that came up at the
But-
Middleburg
At least
Sure.
a flavor.
Listen and Learn.
Yes, ma'am.
One of the parents she was thinking ahead and saying, well, if people know what all of the plans are for everything, then they're just gonna wait until you're not ready for them, and then they're going to, and I thought, whoa, wait a minute, we don't have a lot of people waiting to attack us, number one, but number two, that's why we're somewhat guarded as to what we share and what we talk about,
Absolutely.
Right.
because we don't wanna advertise everything, but this is a good thing.
This is a good thing. This is really good.
Now, this is something that every employee will have access to.
Every employee.
If you
will
have a
access.
cell phone,
If they're on,
yes.
yes, ma'am.
So,
If
And
they-
you
if they
remember to
offer
carry
up
your
their
cell
phone.
phone.
Yeah,
I'm
if they
like-
offer up their personal phone number, because that
Yes.
personal phone number would then have to be uploaded to our
Mhm.
Clay County District Schools Police Department, Sheriff's Office, if they want to be a partner in this, which they were here yesterday, Green Cove, Town of Orange Park, Fire Rescue, Emergency Management, they'll have access to all of it to be able to respond immediately.
This is
So are
for
we
clinics
talking-
also, if you have a med.
Yes, ma'am.
Hospitals can
Yes,
get
ma'am,
it.
first aid, everything.
We're talking secretaries in the
Anybody.
district office, we're talking.
Could we get it on our
principals,
phones
we're
as well?
talking
Yes, ma'am.
people
Okay.
in
Yeah, if you're out of school, you wanna-
Everybody.
That's what I mean, well,
You're
I
out of
mean,
school,
you
you
just,
wanna push
you
it.
know, that would never occur, but.
Yes, ma'am. Well, and we'll have to have extensive training during pre-planning, but I think it's beneficial for it. They'll see the value.
Or a school nurse with a asthmatic.
Oh, gosh, yeah. Think
And,
about
and we've
that.
had teachers, I mean, let's just say a teacher that, falls out in the classroom and is on the phone and can't get up, they can have, if they have their phone, which I know that may not have their phone, but they can have somebody get it and they can push that immediate panic button to do that, so.
Well,
Even
and
if it's a
if
teacher
it's-
next door and a student goes next door.
well,
and
or
the teacher
if
goes.
the phone is sitting on the desk, kindergarten, if we go pick up the phone and say, here,
Hit
you
the
know
big
what I'm
red
saying?
button
I mean,
or whatever it is. yeah.
it's
So it's good, it's a
There's
good tool. Excited to
communication.
bring it.
I'm tickled for that.
awesome.
Okay. Well, you're done.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, my.
Mr. Davis, I have
I
one more
think
thing to
that's a
share,
world.
another celebration. I just learned about it.
So I learn things,
Do
y'all
what?
learn things as well. Go ahead, sir.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Actually, Ms. Stutter, Ms. Bullen, and Ms. Bullock all know this because they were there, but our own social workers got a $750 award at the Celebrate Clay under the category award for the Orange Park Outfitters.
Oh, cool.
You know that
That's
at Orange Park High
Orange
School.
Park
And then
High School.
even more exciting is a special judges award of $1,500 to our Project Reach.
Yes.
Oh,
Social
that's good.
workers for homeless, so
Yes.
Lake
another.
Asbury Junior High.
Lake Asbury Junior High Music Program, I don't know if you're familiar with that program, but they have students that are in a band teach ESC students how to play instruments,
They were
which
recognized.
was wonderful.
I think
And
those
then
were
also
sent.
Paula Summers again,
Yeah, let's go over.
from Oakley Village, she's got it down pat.
Yeah.
She's
So
got it.
I'll get
And we
with
didn't
Nicole,
hear
we'll
from
get all
her.
of this stuff.
Yeah,
on.
we do get, just post that
But-
and celebrate.
And we don't even know what the last two were, because we didn't want to be late
The
for
big,
this
the
meeting.
biggest prizes, but,
But I tell you, just go into that, you just can't believe how much good is done in
Yeah,
this
such
county.
celebration.
It's
It really is a great
amazing.
celebration.
It is.
It's amazing. But that is, you might wanna put that on your weekly thing.
Mhm.
I think it was 4 from that
At
other school
least,
district. And then,
Well, with that would have been 5 then, if it was social work and that.
And then the
And then
Y-
the 3 schools,
Yeah.
5.
and then the Y program,
Good.
Headstock and Children, that
That's right.
provides mentoring for our kids, they got a
Well, and
$1,500.
the first volunteer that was mentioned was a former teacher at Ridgeview Junior High, Mr. Ballman.
Oh,
And when
right.
I was substituting and getting my degree in education, he was teaching there. So I would sub near him, sometimes sub for him. And when I walked in and we saw each other, it was like, whoa, flash from the past. And he said, oh, somebody nominated me for a volunteer. Well, then they went through this litany of everything he's accomplished.
Amazing.
Wow.
I was just like, tears. It was very cool.
Awesome.
He is such
And
a
he-
dedicated
And you could look at him
person.
and tell he is just such an humble man.
Oh,
you know, just-
yes, and the
I-
kids loved him,
and
loved
he
him.
got he got one of the big awards.
He got the first volunteer
Was
award,
it,
yeah.
was it
I can't
5,000?
remember how much it was, yeah.
It was a lot.
Mhm.
Well, it was a wonderful way to start the day.
Yes.
Okay, let me see. No comments from the superintendent. School board comments. I have. We didn't put Mr. Bittner on here. Let's add Mr. Bittner. Mr. Bittner, do you have anything to say?
Well, let me think.
No. Well, I'm gonna say something. Today, 14 years ago, Bruce and Sabrina were married at Magnolia Point. I just happened to be there. And also, he is a smart man because this is Sabrina's birthday.
Ah.
His
That we won't
goal
forget.
is he only has one
One
day
time
to
a year.
remember.
There you go,
Yeah.
there you
I
go.
tried to get him to move
Congratulations.
Christmas.
But happy
She wouldn't change her
anniversary
birthday,
until
is that what you're
Sabrina has
saying?
a birthday. But he said it's been 14 years.
Awesome.
Congrats, happy birthday.
Wow.
So, good. The other thing is you'll notice on this, I wanted to get input from the board. I have my own feelings about it, which I'll share. This is the performance evaluation for the school board attorney. And here's the situation. In our past years, we've done one midway through and then at the end. Well, since Mr. Bittner started with us midway through, my suggestion is that with this, because it's just whether you're checking off the mid-year square or the final square, I say let's go ahead and this time by, when, May? By May 1st?
We do by May 15th.
May 15th, that we go ahead and fill this out as the final, and then we'll be starting off and be in sync, for all future years. Is that agreeable?
Sounds good.
So if y'all would take this and fill it out under the final evaluation,
Okay.
and then have it turned in by the 15th.
To Ms. Bush?
Well, let's see,
Can
15th is a Wednesday.
you email this to everyone?
Okay, does that sound good? Okay.
Chair, I'll have Ms. Bush email this electronically so everybody has it.
Yeah, because then
As
Ms.
well.
Garrett can get a copy. But that'll take care of that. It just seemed foolish to stay a half a year off, and so I thought, well, if we just go ahead and do the final, then we're back in sync again. So
Sounds good.
If y'all are agreeable, we'll do that. And that's all I have. Ms. Bowler, you said you
I
had a
have
couple
two things that I wanted to bring up. The first thing, I've talked a little bit to Mr. Davis about this, but I'm going to just keep bringing it up until perhaps it happens. I am under the I'm feeling that with high schools that are above 2,000 students, we need more than one nurse or a nurse plus an assistant to assist. I've talked to Mr. McCauley a little bit about it to get information about, realize the volume of needs within the elementary schools are higher because we have younger children who are taking care of themselves. But when you're dealing with a student body that's literally a small city, it would be helpful, I think, to that nurse to have an assistant. So that would be 2 additional allocations for 2 high schools. or one for each of the 2 high schools that are above 2,000. That's something I feel strongly about. I feel that there's a disconnect when we tend to treat all of our schools equally, or attempt to, but when you're getting to the volume of those schools, I can't imagine that if a nurse is called out of an office and something else happens on campus, that person can be in 2 places at once. So I don't know if all of the statistics and data warrants a second person on the campuses. I am just concerned about as I said, the volume of people that utilize the services of the clinic. Secondly, you sent out an email regarding reading certification.
Yes,
And I
ma'am.
wanted clarification on that.
So,
I'm a self-contained teacher, let's say, in 5th grade, and I teach reading this year, but normally I teach math science. So the legislature has now passed
it's fast.
a certification requirement for me as a teacher who teaches reading this year to have an additional 300 hours, was it?
It is 300 hours.
In training and certification, and that would then be part of my certification. Is that that's the reading endorsement, which we've
That's
had in
correct.
the past. How is that different from the reading endorsement that we've had in the past?
It's through the chair, it's the same, it's a requirement. So I think it's 2021 that individuals that teach students who have deficiencies in the area of literacy will have to go and become reading endorsed.
Because,
So
well,
I
and
haven't-
just
I haven't-
clarification on that, as a self-contained teacher and as anybody who teaches reading in the elementary
Yeah,
school
you're gonna be endorsed.
is going to have to be endorsed.
That's correct.
Even
So-
though that's just this is my
Right.
1 year I'm teaching it, because
That's correct.
we need 5 teachers instead of 6 teachers because of the numbers. And so therefore, even though I normally teach math science, because I have that 1 year, it's sort of like the old ESOL
I was gonna say,
requirement.
it's just like when you get
just like
flagged
the
for
ESOL.
ESOL, and then that kid's no
Yeah,
longer
so-
your student, you
And,
still start the process.
and with that, I mean, every classroom
Right.
has children with
Sure,
needs. And
sure.
so I'm hoping that we don't start building classrooms with just those teachers that
Yeah.
are endorsed, and is this going to
Yeah.
leave a lot of teachers out of field?
So through the chair, the
And I
answer
know
your
it's not till
question. No,
2020.
but we
Yeah.
have to start now. So I sent an email to one person for review. She thought that I sent it out to the entire organization. I didn't, so it's no big deal. So we're waiting. It's okay. I mean, she was just trying to help. So she's got a good heart and she's a good person. So we get to a point where we're waiting on the Department of Education to approve our plan, because we have a plan for the next 2.5 years, a year and a half, to be able to triage, which would be around 600 to 800 teachers that we would have to be trained in reading endorsement. There's a lot that goes with that. So training that we'd have to offer multiple options so teachers can do that. And if they do not, then they will be projected out of field, which means they've got to complete by a certain time frame. This is going to be an issue throughout the state of Florida. So, but we want to be ahead of it. So we're waiting on the Department of Education to approve our plan. We have Jamie working on it, we have Connor working on it, Ms. Bayes working on it, and hopefully they'll get it back to us soon, any day. Then I will send a communication to the entire board, along with the communication to the entire field, so they know what options we're going to take on. But I would tell you the other issue with this, and maybe I probably shouldn't say because it's bargaining.
Okay.
There's a part of the contract that says, and I'll just say what the contract says, that way I'm just stating facts, is that anybody that gets reading endorsed, we incentivize them to obtain $400. So if you were going to get reading endorsed as a teacher, which is a celebration, you receive a
Yes,
$400
I
stipend.
mean, we're talking.
Well, now we
a long
need,
time.
now we need to rethink, because now it's a requirement. So that's $320,000.
So this certification for teachers, does it cost them anything to obtain?
It's gonna,
Yeah.
there's gonna be yeah, $75.
90? Oh, for the.
To recertify.
To add.
So you
I
get
just
cost
recertified,
time, which is
and I
heavy
had
a
to
number
pay.
of hours to seat time and sit time and virtual time.
Now, do the teachers have to pay that 75 themselves, or do we
Yes.
pay?
Yeah.
Yes, because they're 75, because it's on their
I just paid
certificate.
it to get recertified,
I
yes.
just paid it to get
And then the same
recertified
as if you
too.
did the ESE, that's required 20 hours, and you have to add that, it's the
Yeah,
same.
same.
And if you have any additional
4
certifications,
years
because
away.
Katie's certified in English, journalism, and other areas.
Based on-
It just seems
It's
like
all
every time we
individual.
turn around, there's something else on our teachers.
Yeah.
I-
That's
it's
exactly.
just,
Well,
the
and
intent of it's smart.
I
The problem
understand.
is that it's a rush process and it's a
Mhm.
cost process too.
The other side of that, are there any parts of this particular certification, and I'm just, the wheels are
Yes, ma'am.
spinning, that can be used as part of the ESE credits?
I think it's in isolation. So,
'Cause I thought,
Is
well,
that
if
really
that-
stringent
'Cause
about ELL,
To be
ESOL,
recertified, every
E-
time
ESE?
you have to take an additional 30 hours in
Yeah, it's
ESE.
like 20, 30 hours.
And
It's
it's-
20, yeah.
Oh, it's 20,
It's,
pardon me.
yeah, it's easy.
And it's that ESE, I mean, I've got enough to certify for another 5 years, but I will have to take that additional 20
Yeah, just use mine.
sometime in the next 5 years. I won't be teaching reading.
The reading,
Instead of math
the reading is
science.
bankable.
That's,
Which
I
is-
have, that's
which
what
is
I
good,
have. I've got
but-
some, but not 300. I've got like 120 that I have.
Which is what you have for
For the
research.
original,
hours.
the basic reading certification.
We'll see,
Um,
we'll, as superintendents, we'll push a little bit and see if they can make some adjustments.
The
and,
other side of that, I was talking to a teacher from one of our local private schools. And her comment was, oh yeah, my certification is lapsed.
Yeah, they don't, I mean, from a
And I
private.
thought, how frustrating it is from a public school teacher's perspective to have to jump through all of these hoops determined by the legislature. And I could go to one of the private schools, I could go to a charter school, I could go to one of the other private schools where vouchers are accepted, not all of our private schools accept
Sure.
vouchers. And there would be nothing
Yeah, they do
that
not
I
have
would
to have
have
credentialed
to,
teachers.
have to
As a
prove.
parent, I have a hard
And
time.
I'm like, that's one of my greatest
Yeah.
frustrations.
Should be.
And there's no rhyme or reason. And I understand the opportunity for school choice, I get that, I understand that.
Support it.
But I wish that there was more equitable
Yeah, requirements.
requirements for all of our
It's
kids.
It's called
Especially for kids.
fairness.
Bottom
Especially for
line,
kids.
and instead of saying, okay, we got it, we're not giving a lot to the public school teachers, we're giving bonuses, but we're not gonna cover all of the bonuses, we're only gonna cover those that we think are important for classroom teachers, but by the way, those classroom teachers have to take those additional 300 hours in order to jump through this hoop to get that bonus and it's like, it's very frustrating, and I can understand why our teachers, and why there are teachers who are leaving the profession, and it makes me incredibly sad.
Ms. Boba, thank you for saying all the points you said. Now just take a deep breath, it's all gonna be okay.
It will, and that's,
It'll all be okay.
and that's,
In the long run.
that's the point, Ms.
It'll be.
Studdard, because
Teachers
teachers
make it happen.
make it happen.
They do.
And
That's exactly
teachers are
correct.
committed to
But-
be the people that they are, and they choose
They
it,
do.
they choose this profession because they are committed to
But
it.
hopefully they know that we are as alarmed as they are about actions that have
And
taken
angry,
place.
there's an
and,
angry word in there besides alarm.
Yeah, well, I'm
But that-
trying, I'm
yes.
trying to be
You're trying to be polite, I understand.
polite. Okay, Ms. Bullock, any comments?
Yes, I just have a couple. First, an attaboy to Dr. Kemp and his department. Got a text from Lori Butler and with her classroom and a picture of it. And she's so thrilled that she's going
She
to
knew
have
home.
a nice setting and way for her volunteers to get in and out. So thank you so much for all of your help with that.
What did they do on getting in and out?
We
Well,
just transitioned.
she's moved to Orange Park Junior High
Oh,
and they
okay.
recarpeted it. It just looks really nice. Like I say, she just sent me a
Good.
text.
Good.
The other thing is, I'd like to thank Mr. McCauley, the community schools concept in Keystone, and I know he's working with, Tina Baker, a new program that's pretty reasonable, where it's gonna be, what is it called, All Here, or,
It's an attendance monitoring and intervention support program. It's called All Here.
Yeah.
We're working with a company, it's typically $1,000 a school, but they're giving us a $500 grant for each school we put on, so we're gonna roll it out in approximately 8 schools initially, particularly in the Keystone area, the 218 corridor, the Clay Hill, Wilkinson area, because those two groups of schools have some very robust attendance monitoring program systems in place.
So how does this work?
Basically, it'll be an exchange, Jeremy Bunkley's been involved, there'll be an exchange of data where we can quickly highlight students who meet certain thresholds, where we wanna get in front of it before it becomes a problem. And in doing so, it allows us to blast out messages to the kids, to their cell phones, like, hey, where are you, we miss you, kind of messaging, a little more positive. It includes some intervention strategies that the school can work with the parents and
Right.
kind of work with the kids.
Mental health, all
Yeah,
kinds
and
of.
well, the big thing is that
It's- It just gives us another tool,
Right.
quite frankly.
And Keystone's set up for it, like as Professor said, they have really focused this year, this entire Keystone community on attendance. It was adopted by the mayor's office, council, and you can walk into a school and you'll see there'll be a board, whiteboard, you walk into school, today's daily attendance is this, you know,
They'll
we're
have
trying to get to this.
Here on time, I mean, they have all
And
kinds
that's
of.
what it takes. If they don't come, can't educate.
And the other thing is the visitation to the houses
Yeah.
for the kids who are doing well.
Right.
And I
That's
just
right.
left my card because you're on the A honor roll or AB honor roll, or you
Exactly.
got a good grade on a
I
test
mean,
or
imagine
whatever. I
that one
love
sort of
that.
showing up at your door and saying, we just wanna say what a great job you're doing. I mean, it's really, that is really phenomenal. But I really appreciate the support of that program, and I've met with Tina Baker. She's gonna speak to our business association in August. We're gonna have signs that the business can put in their front of their yard about being here on time, so we're gonna get the whole community behind that,
Oh,
so.
wonderful. That's cool.
So that I appreciate that, and then I have what's an update on the Wilkinson School with the arson, did you find out?
So right now, I don't know if we have any more information from the marshal's office. We do know that we captured images for between Wilkinson Elementary and Wilkinson Junior High School of a young man. We took those images and then we pushed them immediately to the marshal, and we haven't heard back. I'll check with Chief Wagner again today. He's been in constant communication because we're trying to either identify, I know they identified the student.
Okay, they
the
have.
person, they identified a name. And the person a name, so I've gotta figure out, follow up what happened on the visit to that home. So I'll try to get that today.
Wow.
Thank you very much.
And you'll
I
let us
appreciate
know.
it.
Yes, ma'am.
Wow.
And there's been an outpouring of support for that
Oh,
teacher.
absolutely.
From all, I mean, the foundation gave grants, I know you'd
Sure.
said that there was
Yeah, whatever we would
opportunities.
They were doing
and
collections at
all of the
church
schools,
over in
yeah.
Middleburg at, what was the name of this business? But they were doing collections, I mean,
Whatever support that I've
this
reached out to her
community
multiple times.
always
They always
comes
support
through.
us.
Through,
Yeah.
that's correct, and by the way, Garth Brooks was wonderful. Saturday.
Ms. Bullock, you're out of order. You were down there in Gatorland, wasn't it?
Gatorland.
Hey, I bet it was a good
It
concert.
was a good concert.
Ms. Gilhousen, okay, I did want to remind you that your trim notice was here. We've already gone over these dates before, but the ones in red are the ones that we have to be at. And to make sure you don't forget those.
Two
And,
of them are existing meetings, so it's
Right.
really only calling for one additional meeting,
The
which
July
is the July
30th.
30th.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we are good to go, and the meeting is adjourned.